Hey everybody, welcome to Geek Rant. Tonight I'm joined by Toby and we're going to be talking about the new Obi Wan Kenobi series on Disney+.
They're coming. Stay hidden, or we will not survive.
So, on Friday, 27th of May, they released the new series of Obi Wan Kenobi. This has been something I've been looking forward to. They actually released 2 episodes on Friday, which was quite nice to get a bit of a feel into the story of what's going on. At the beginning of the episode 1, they don't have any names. They're just called Part 1 and Part 2. At the very beginning, there's a bit of a recap as to what's happened previously in Star Wars. So obviously it's the end of episode 3, a little bit of that, him defeating Darth Vader and getting burnt up, and him getting turned into the outfit. And a bit about the kids being handed off to the relevant, parties to go off and be hidden in secret. Yeah. So we sort of pick it up with Obi-Wan, he's living on Tatooine in the shadows, keeping an eye on Luke Skywalker. You see him in the early part of the episode looking at Luke. He's working for a meat processing factory. Where they're chopping up pieces of this big.
Is it meat or is it fish? Because it could be either.
Well,
it's like a big whale, isn't it?
Yeah, was it another one of those dragon or those things that Mandalorian had killed?
Yeah, it's true. It could be one of those. I mean, because in the Mandalorian they referenced the fact that Tatooine used to be covered in seas in the oceans.
Yeah,
and that some people have said that this could be something connected to like a whale species, maybe. But anyway. Yeah,
it didn't really focus on that. You saw the side of it, didn't you? But then they were there cutting it up, and
interesting.
He obviously goes back to town. He's keeping an eye on, and he has a bit of an encounter with Owen, who doesn't want him there anymore. He's worried that if he's there, then it's going to cause problems. And then we see the introduction of some new characters to the live action series, and that's the Inquisitors. There were 3 Inquisitors that we see: the Grand Inquisitor, the 3rd sister, and the 5th brother. And their mission is to try and locate any rogue Jedis that have escaped Order 66. And so they're after Kenobi. Now it's very clear that Reva, who's the 3rd sister, is desperate to find Obi Wan Kenobi, so she can then take him to Darth Vader and gain some.
We think that there's definitely that element to it, isn't there? But maybe there's also the slight resentment that he couldn't save them when she was taken. Right. So I think it may be a bit personal.
There is a bit where she does reference, about getting back at him, a personal, reason for it. So
I think we may find more about that. Reva needs a bit more depth. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. and then we cut to Alderaan and a young Princess Leia, and she's obviously 10 years old. She's living with her adoptive parents. I thought that was quite interesting that the adoptive parents they told her that she is, and she's made to feel a little bit like an outsider by her cousin and so on. And the general crux is they've introduced Princess Leia because she gets kidnapped and taken away as a trap for Obi-Wan, who then gets so that kind of, he's then asked by Father Bail Organa, asks Obi-Wan Kenobi, can you save my child? Then he goes to Tatooine to face him, because Obi-Wan is a much more down on himself. He's been really hit by the fact that the Jedi lost and have had to hide and so on, and the Empire has risen. So in the end, he does agree that he will go and investigate and find Princess Leia.
Which I mean, I have to say, at that point, because one of his angles on this is he doesn't want anybody to know. Obviously, he's there and he's trying to hide. But his approach to them is, it's a different time. We've fallen. It's gone. I'm not a Jedi anymore. That's right. In my mind, he's like, it's almost as if, he has given up. But for me, he should have been more like, we will rise again, but now is not the time, because he's waiting for Luke to come into his power, and he's kind of saying, we're gone. This is it. We're done. But really, he should be, in a sense, kind of supporting that undercurrent of survivors. He wants nothing to do with them, which I found really peculiar. I felt, maybe they'll go, maybe it's a sort of a form of depression, almost Jedi depression. Yeah. But he is, in a way, keeping things alive by being there, but yet kind of saying that they're not alive. I found it a bit contradictory.
I know what you're saying. But I often think to have some sort of character progression. I'm thinking of a wider writing sort of scenario. You kind of want him to be a little bit down at the beginning, because then once he saves Princess Leia and he gets on and he does, perhaps that will be him reinvigorating himself, and feeling like, actually, I will teach the Force, and I will, I mean, I suppose at the beginning of the original Star Wars, he's
resentful, isn't he?
He's a little bit resentful.
That's a very good point. That's a good point.
It does lead into, him talking about, the old times, and, he used and this sort of thing. But he does then want to try. He does say in the episode as well, we've got to train him when he comes of age, the right sort of age, So he does want to do it. He does understand that there's a responsibility to do that. But I could totally understand that he was down, and that he had been beaten down. This is 10 years later. He's lived in the desert for 10 years, cutting bits of meat, or whatever. And also, when you think about it, when the Jedi were at their height, when he was at his height, he was like supreme Jedi. He was fighting all, Count Dooku, killing that.
So where is that? I mean, you're right.
I know, but it's because he's had a crash, isn't he? He's gone into a slump.
I know. I tend to feel that his Jedi training and his meditation skills and all that type of thing would surely be a strong undercurrent for him in this situation. Well, but I think that's also, fine.
I think also that when they did the recap, they say at the beginning there, "I've failed you, Anakin. I've really failed you." And he I think that's part of his torment, is that he was like his brother. He felt like he failed him and didn't train him well enough.
And that's going to be a big part of this. No doubt that is going to be a big part of this. Hopefully not too big a part of it, because I think that relationship between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, I don't think that we want that strung out again like we did during the prequels.
I don't think so. So.
Why labour that? We want something new here. But anyway, carry on with where were we at?
Well, that was kind of the first episode, wasn't it? Then the second episode is him going off and arriving at a new planet. Daihu, is that how they pronounce it?
Yeah,
that's something like that. And it's very much it's a grungy cityscape. It's a bit like seeing Blade Runner or something, isn't it?
Very much so.
And he has to try and track her down. He comes across a Jedi, a false guy who's pretending to be a Jedi. And he is Padja or something, and he is trying to he's hoodwinking people slightly. He is helping them.
He is,
he is helping them, but he's also pretending to be a Jedi, pretending to work on that basis to get people in, get some money from them. Obi-Wan sort of sees this and stops him. Takes his tricks away and asks him to tell him where to find Princess Leia, and he gives him some useful information. She's obviously going to be held at this terrible place.
Hadja or something like that.
Yeah. And so he goes in, and
I thought it was interesting actually at that point, because obviously there's more to Hadja, because the implication is when we see him, as you're saying, as we move on, he's actually part of the rebellion.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that we've been introduced to this trickster type character.
Well, I thought that bit was nice that they didn't make him trying to, because Obi-Wan had exposed him, and he didn't then make him an enemy. Do you know what I mean?
No.
He turned out to be a help, wanted to help him in the end, because he obviously likes Jedi.
That's the feeling I got.
Reveres the Jedi, He's obviously a bit crazy. I thought it was a little bit too hammy, that bit, a bit too. They could have done it just that little bit better to make it seem real. Like it looked
it was the weakest performance from Ewan McGregor, I think. I couldn't get his angle on it when he confronted him. Yeah. What he was saying, what he was doing, what he was meaning when he was saying his lines. It felt very like, are you confronting him?
Yeah.
It was a bit weird.
He's trying to put on a voice, isn't he? An Obi-Wan sort of voice, or
and sometimes it was working. I thought it was better this time. But
it was.
He should have sat down with him and used the Force on him. That would have been great.
Tortured him.
No, just kind of like.
But you're saying
he couldn't use his Force. I know.
He doesn't want to use
the whole line of not using his Force.
Yeah.
I just think it would have been interesting for him to sort of use his Force, and then the other guy this is a real Jedi I'm facing here. Except there's an assumption that he then realizes he's the real Jedi without any proof of it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, did he see him catch Leia when she fell?
I don't know what happened in that bit. That was completely chaotic.
You're right, because he came round and sort of said, well, you are a Jedi, and it was like, how do you know that? Sort of thing.
I felt like there's a scene missing, like it'd been cut.
There was probably something that was cut, wasn't there?
Unfortunately, that bit wasn't really handled very well of the show. There was a series of sections. He was, I don't know where the trickster was, but we had Reva parkouring along the rooftop. We had Hadji kind of drifting around the back somewhere.
Yes.
We had Obi-Wan dangling over the thing to try to save Leia, and it just felt like, who was where. And then we had the Inquisitor coming in from the background somewhere, wasn't he? Where was he? I mean, it was it was a little bit. I know what you mean. It felt like Reva was closer by than what she was. It was like she was. It was like she was blocks and blocks away doing all this jump. But to be honest, I quite liked the jumping and stuff. I thought it was a good little take on because she's got Force abilities. She can use the Force. And I think it looked better than all the shit they used to do in the prequels, where they were just jumping around like crazy. There was a weird bit where she was still jumping. Obi-Wan saved Leia.
Yeah.
And then he somehow got down from the rooftop.
He was suddenly on the street, wasn't he?
Yeah, you're right. Around. He walks around. And then suddenly it cuts back to Reva, and she's parkouring still while they're sort of holding hands down below.
Yeah. Just having a chat.
The original scene, you looked
seemed like she was a lot closer, didn't it?
Yeah, she was kind of looking across, and they were just there, and she could like parkour across 3 buildings or something. She was taking the long route round, I reckon. She was getting really into it.
So obviously, getting back to the storyline slightly, obviously we jumped a tiny bit there. It turned out Reva had hired these thugs to take Princess Leia as a trap, these guys managed to grab
a broadcast, hadn't she? She basically, and
everybody
and everyone.
That was after that, wasn't it? Because he went in, he rescued her. He managed to use that drugs on the guys, didn't he? They tried to grab him.
The girl that he bought the drugs off.
Yeah.
In the city.
Yeah.
That was his real life daughter, Ewan McGregor's daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
He's got a daughter who's like 25.
Yeah. Well, Ewan McGregor's about 50, isn't he?
Is he about 50 now?
I think he is, yeah. I don't think. I think he's
Well,
getting on it. He's getting.
I thought he was a bit younger.
I think he's our generation.
I don't know. I know he is, but yeah, I suppose he is getting on a bit, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's a funny thought, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Anyway,
so yeah, I quite like that bit where he used the drugs.
Me too. I quite like the way he was fighting. They orchestrated that well.
Yeah, that was
because it looked like he was kind of struggling, but when he was getting a few moves. And he threw them right, and that looked really convincing. Actually, I thought that was good.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to remember in the prequels, he was an all singing, all dancing Jedi master, wasn't he? Yeah. He could beat anybody pretty much,
Absolutely.
So I could see he could do that. It was
he was all singing because he did, wasn't it? Didn't he do that musical as well? So if he wanted to, he could sing. Yes. Wasn't he in? Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's been in a few, isn't he?
He's been in a few musicals.
Moulin Rouge and things like that.
Moulin Rouge, that's the one. Yeah. So if he wanted to, he could sing as well. Yeah.
Annoying git.
Exactly.
I hate these actors that can do everything. It's really, really annoying.
There's that Wolverine's like that, isn't he? What's his name?
Oh yeah, Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
Hugh Jackman. Yeah, Australians as well. They think they
and still at the age of 55, he's still ripped, isn't he? It's just ridiculous. But so obviously then Reva comes back and she finds them all sort of gassed out, and that's when she puts out this call to all the bounty hunters on the planet.
Everybody gets it on their little thing on their wrist, and suddenly there's Ewan's head everywhere.
Suddenly everybody is out to get him. And so we have that little bit where they're chased through the streets. There's a bit of a fight with a couple of them, isn't there? Princess Leia suddenly's like, "You're the reason why I'm being captured," and she tries to run off, and so he chases after her, and that's when we get to the scene where we're on the roof. She got up on the roof somehow. Don't know how she got up on the roof. She was up on the roof. They were running across. I thought the bit where they were firing at him and he was trying to shoot them was quite good, But then, you're right. There was a bit of editing. There was a slight bit of editing issue.
It was weird, wasn't it? It was like they cut a whole scene or something.
Yeah. He showed her his force powers by saving her. And she believed in him. And so they went off. Luckily, they met the Hajj guy again, and he'd given them a remote or some sort of device to be able to activate a cargo ship. And they went off to try and get there. But obviously, Reva has tracked him down, found him, and mind checked him. Where are they? And so they head up to the cargo ship, and there's a bit of a confrontation. But the confrontation is not with her and Obi Wan; it's more with her and the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah. Well, I found that last sequence potentially thrilling. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I thought Reva's coming in.
Yeah,
she's a bit sassy. I don't like the character myself. We'll talk more about that in a minute. I'll explain why in a minute, but I'm thinking we could, and Obi-Wan gets his lightsaber out and he's holding it like with two hands, like kind of nurturing it, and he's like he doesn't light it, and there's no fight, and it was a real shame because I just thought they tempted us with a lightsaber battle.
I think you're wrong there.
That's fine, but I think that there could have been just like a couple of swings, and then the Inquisitor comes in and she gets distracted or something like that, or he makes the move. Either way,
I think they're just trying to make a big build up to it. I think they're trying to make a big build up to it. With other series they do this, like for example with Moon Knight, it's a big build up, big fight at the end, and it's all crap. Yes.
I think that you need to span it out. Like in the original New Hope, there's a good fight within the first towards the end. You know, and I think you need.
There definitely needs to be. I just wondering if it's going to build up to like an epiphany moment for him, where he suddenly will embrace his Jedi powers again. Because he's been very, very reluctant to use any of his Jedi powers. Obviously they managed to escape, but in the process, Reva has confronted the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah. Before you go on to that bit, don't you think it would be better if when he finds out that Darth Vader, that Annie's still alive, that they were fighting at that point, and she uses it to get the upper hand against him. I think that would have been spectacular.
Yes, that could have been a good bit. It could have been a good bit.
So they're hiding behind barrels. That's the problem.
I know. There's a bit of me that's like,
yeah, I know you're right. There needs to be a big build up to a fight, but I think that there should be a small series of small fights before the final big fight.
Yes. Yeah.
I just feel that, and I worry.
And they've done that before in other things. There was like you say in The New Hope. I mean, even in episode 1, where they first see Darth Maul, he confronts Qui-Gon. When just they're trying to get onto that ship and get away, he like fights him a little bit, and I know what you mean. It's always exciting to see the lightsabers come to life. And have a little bit of a, and maybe he could have done, and Princess Leia could have seen that and said, oh, he is a Jedi and he's going to protect me, sort of thing. Not sure, probably does think that already, but I know that's a really tricky one, because they spent those 2 episodes sort of suggesting how he's down and doesn't want to use his powers and all that sort of thing, and part of me is like, oh well. Next episode, maybe, but I don't know.
I think he potentially would have had to have used his lightsaber with total reluctance to use it, but that something happens, which means that she falls or is distracted, or she's just about to strike him, and Leia calls or something. Something happens, but in any case. I felt that was I felt really let down by that moment when I watched it.
Yes, a little bit. Yes. Yeah. I know what you mean. He could have had that. He only really sort of starts to think about Darth Vader anyway when he gets on the ship, doesn't he? Because he gets on the ship and he's like standing there, and the little girl's looking at him, and then he's sort of thinking, and he's like, Anakin.
Yeah, we see his face.
He's at the end in a big tub of water.
As if he's never thought about him before for the last 10 years. I think that at that point it was that I thought it's stupid when there's a close up on his face.
Well, he thinks he killed him, didn't he? He thinks he killed him.
Yeah, but I think he would have come to terms with that over the years, surely. As something that would have. It was. I
don't know.
Inevitable.
Sometimes there's these things that
these wounds are too deep.
Can break a person. Very much so. Very much so.
He was a spoiled brat. He gave him every chance he could. He killed like 500 children. He should, I mean, he should, in a sense.
But you're missing the point.
Annie.
He blames himself. He blames himself.
I know he does.
Turning and not doing the right thing. Not training him well enough. And I mean, they say that, don't they? In the first episode of this, where Owen says, he's got to train him, and he says, no, well, look how that turned out when you trained his father. So I can see both sides of the coin there. The exciting
one's particularly supporting, and the other one's a bit more interesting.
Yes,
unfortunately.
Yes, but
it's just going to be him whimpering along, going.
If the expectation is there, then when it does happen, won't you have an even bigger sort of like, yes, he's got, he's got.
If it's good, if it's not, then it'd be even shitter.
Yeah.
They're building up for it's like being built up for a big fall, isn't it? We've got Christian Haydenson as Darth Vader. He's one of the shittest actors in the world, and and then we're going to have Ewan McGregor
face much,
having to pretend that he's sad that he's the one who should be blamed for Darth.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's. I think that if they're going to chase that storyline as the main element. His failure of Darth Vader, I think that is that's useless. I could use stronger terms, but I don't think that you could build a story on that. I think that's weak.
Yeah, it's something that they need a different focus with it, don't they? I don't mind that he's reluctant. Down a bit down and in reluctant and that perhaps seeing Princess Leia and her, she's obviously force sensitive, and they really hint at that, don't they? Because she sees the cousin, she's like, belittles him a little bit, reads him, and the same with Obi Wan, doesn't she? Later on, she can sense,
Mm.
you're hiding something, and that all comes out.
Yeah, and I don't you think though that if Obi-Wan was over it now,
Yeah.
okay, and he hates Darth Vader and what he did, and he doesn't blame himself for that.
Yeah.
If they get to a fight in the end and they're dueling, and at that moment Darth Vader says something that triggers that weakness inside Obi-Wan, so that he hesitates and for a moment reflects that it could be his fault, rather than having this drawn out kind of self-pitying process. Maybe that something like that could be a more powerful tool.
Yes, maybe
slathered all over the place.
Yeah, I could yes, I can see what you're saying. And also, if he's been trained for 30 years as a Jedi, where you're trained to suppress these negative feelings because that leads to the dark side, being down and depressed and that sort of thing that won't help, will it?
Maybe they should have had Obi-Wan kind of almost shifting a bit to the dark side. Maybe that would have been interesting, and that his realizing that the true situation with Darth and would have brought him back to the light side.
Well, I that's what I kind of hoped with episode 8 and 9 had happened more. That originally Rey, I was hoping that Rey had got turned to the dark side, and that Ben had gone back to the good, and then they had the fight at the end, and then he had turned her back again, and I thought that could have been a better, a way forward with it, but
we won't go into too much detail on that front.
No, we won't.
Brilliant.
Okay, so obviously at the end there, we see this confrontation as we discussed there. We thought could have maybe made a bit more of that. It was good, but I think, like you say, maybe a bit more on there. But obviously the surprise for me was when Reva suddenly turned around and killed the Grand Inquisitor guy. That took me by surprise a little bit, because I thought they brought in Rupert Friend to be one of the main villains, the main baddies,
And that was the impression that we were given from all the trailers, he was going to be the one.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a weird dynamic, don't you think?
Yes.
The Inquisitor General, and Reva, I just thought that the dynamic didn't work. It was very peculiar. I thought that the Inquisitor was his performance was very strange.
Yes.
Kind of very.
He was obviously given some very odd notes, wasn't he, on what this character was, because he talked in a very strange way, didn't he? And that was probably just because he's an alien of some sorts, But I don't think his character worked very well.
It didn't, but his character has heritage, because he's in Rebels.
Yes,
and has a much bigger part to play, and he looks very different and they've
thinner, isn't he? He's thinner. He's got a thinner sort of face and head. But I think also, didn't he look? Well, he may not have died, but he looked like he died in Rebel in one of them. He falls off of a thing into a fiery. So I was like, okay, maybe he survived. And
this is what they're saying. This is what people are saying about him having the lightsaber put through him in this episode. They're saying that he's going to come back. He's potentially still alive. But if you have a lightsaber thrust through you, I know that Darth Maul came back to life, even though he was chopped in half.
He was chopped in half.
I think. I mean, it seems weird, and the whole way along.
The one thing I think people say. Oh, sorry. I didn't.
Go ahead. It's fine.
The one thing I think they say about a lightsaber is, because it's so hot, when it hits you, it cauterizes your wounds.
It cauterizes
it immediately, sort of thing. So it's not also good for loads of blood going out for the kids.
Of course. Child-friendly weapons.
Yeah.
Although it's pretty grim when they slice someone's hand off in the market
yes.
space, is it?
Oh
Market
yes,
Square.
yeah. When she chopped the guy, that
Reva was, yeah. I felt that he was never in control of her.
He wasn't.
If he was of any importance, this Grand Inquisitor, he would have had her up against the wall there with his force grip, choking the life out of her. Like in every that's a long tradition of the baddies in Star Wars. Is if anybody steps out of line, you get force grip around the neck and they nearly die
on the neck.
You know, and there was none of that. She was strutting her stuff around, looking really sassy and really kind of up her own arse. You know, I really felt like, you know, she's not meant to be likable, but I didn't think the actress pulled it off very well at all. I thought it was very unbelievable. She's acting a bit like a spoiled brat. I felt like the character itself did not come across. I did not like her performance one slight bit.
Well,
I felt like she didn't understand.
Because I thought of her as just someone who was completely focused on finding Kenobi, so that she can get some sort of revenge on him, but also deliver him to Darth Vader so that she can climb up the ladder, you know, and become a favored, you know, Inquisitor. And her
tactics were chaotic, Greg.
They were.
She would just broadcast stuff. It didn't feel. It felt like she was purposely just throwing things out there. When often the dark side is very much. It's a very sort of sly, snake-like approach to things. They're controlling things behind the scenes.
They're not Sith, are they? They're not.
No.
Sith. You know, that's
true.
They only have two Sith, don't they? They only had the Master and
we don't really know what they are, do we?
We don't.
We're told that they're force sensitive.
Well,
I think that's part of the problem.
You see them use force abilities, don't you? There's a bit where she throws the guy up against the wall to get the information out of him, and there's a bit where she goes to hit that person with the lightsaber, and the Grand Inquisitor is like,
which is just bonkers. Yeah, he was just going to chop that woman in half.
I know.
I
know. It was a bit out of hand, wasn't it? a bit crazy. But they were trying to sort of demonstrate that she is a loose cannon. You know, she said, you know, these people.
The Grand Inquisitor would not have had her there. The Grand Inquisitor would not have had her there if she was like that. He said.
And I think you're right. I think what would probably have happened was he would have sent her off to some ice planet to cool off for 10 years, you know? But do you think perhaps he was afraid of her, you know, and thought he had to keep her close to keep an eye on her, you know?
There's always that. There's all you can. Yeah, that's always.
There's lots of ways of looking at it, isn't there? You know, you don't know because he doesn't sort of say much. But I didn't mind her. I understand what you're saying, and I can see that side of it. But she was the main baddie, wasn't she? She was the one sorting out all the traps and
should have been the Grand Inquisitor. Really, that would have been more interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think the look of it.
Yeah, he should have been better.
I didn't like the way he spoke and how he sort of did things. You know, it just didn't seem. You know, that didn't.
Her character's made up as well. Hers is a new character.
Oh, is it?
So it's not. There's no basis in history for her character.
Right.
So she's not. When she's acting out of turn, it's not against any sort of previous history.
No.
So I guess that they felt that they could do that.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, so I enjoyed watching it.
Yes. Yeah,
definitely.
I enjoyed it. I'm definitely gonna, you know, continue and pursue. You know.
Oh yeah. We'll look it on here, won't we?
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. What did you think of Princess Leia, the girl who played Princess Leia?
I thought she was excellent. Vivian Lyra Blair. I thought she played the spoiled little brat really well, with the additional force power that allows her insights to things. You know, she was just stupidly cute in the role. which I thought was great because she was coming up against some gruesome guys. Because old Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers is Vect Nokru, the villain who kidnaps her.
Oh yes, right. Yeah.
So yeah, Flea, he's the drummer out of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, is he?
And I thought they could have hammed that up a little bit. I thought he could have been a bit more horrible to her, and she could have given him a few insights. That would have been funny.
It did make me laugh. It did make me laugh the bit where they chase her through the woods. Yeah, that was
a bit cringy.
That was really bad. The way they choreographed that and did that.
It was. That
was really funny. She just
it was funny.
And jumped, and just a little.
There were like about 3 seconds it worked when she dodged under a branch, but otherwise
that was it. Yeah. They couldn't get her. She was so fast.
That's bad directing in my mind. That is.
Yeah, that wasn't well staged, was it?
No.
They didn't need such a long chase. They could have just grabbed her, couldn't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that kind of was a bit. It did make me laugh, she was supposed to be 10, and I thought she looked more like she was 6. Do you know what I mean? She seemed very little and very, very small. My eldest is nearly 10.
I mean, you're not. Yeah.
My eldest is about she's a foot taller than her, and
but she's tall. Like she's tall and elegant, isn't she?
Jeepers, So I'm like, she looks like one of my other kids who are 5 and 7.
It's funny, because you can really relate to that.
She did her lines well, and she performed well.
I thought she was very good.
So that was good. Definitely.
And I think that they paid homage, to Princess Leia's attitude in The New Hope. She's kind of, it was similar.
A leader.
You could see the relationships. Yeah, she's a leader, but she's also she's strong-willed, and she, even at that age, she had to sort of face tough situations.
Yes. Yeah.
And what did you think of Ewan and Ewan McGregor's performance as Obi-Wan?
Ewan McGregor's performance, pretty not too bad, pretty good. Better than in the films, the 3 films he was in.
For sure.
He's done something with the voice, which is a bit better,
I agree. Yeah, it's a bit lower, it's a bit more gravelly.
Yeah, it seems a better as an older Obi-Wan. I always thought when you saw him as a sort of as the Padawan in the first one, and with his hair and the thing, and it just didn't work at all, did it? Really bad.
He did a very posh voice, didn't he? He was hello.
Yeah, well, he's like Scottish, isn't he? He's Scottish. So he's
25. He's Scottish, yeah. He was 25 when he played Obi-Wan in that first film.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was pretty young. So, but I was actually really impressed with his performance.
Yes.
Some of his character motivations I didn't necessarily think were right, but I did think that he, as an actor, his presence on the screen,
I
thought was very homely and welcoming, and I felt at ease when he was there. I felt like we were in the world, and that he was part of that. It was a shame that he was kind of so demoralized that he wouldn't offer help for Leia. But I thought that his performance was pretty good.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with you. I still think they're playing it so that he feels bad about what's happened with the previous, and so
we'll see how that will evolve.
I'm not the man like that anymore, and all that sort of thing. I'm not
the man I used to be.
Yeah. But and what about obviously any part of Star Wars is the world around it and all the things that they bring into it. Obviously we've seen Tatooine a lot, haven't we? But we obviously saw Alderaan, which was good. Is a little obviously very CGI and all that sort of thing.
It was quite CGI, wasn't it?
Yeah. and that made me think a little bit of the prequels because they were really CGI, weren't they?
Agreed. Yeah.
But I still thought I thought that was quite good. They played that bit quite well. And then the I can't think what the name of the place was. The place where they went to rescue Princess Leia. That seemed like they put a bit. They put a bit of effort in, hadn't they, to make some sets and to create a bit of atmosphere and
extend the lore a bit. This is a new world.
Yeah,
we've got lots of characters. There's lots of little Easter eggs, and all the signs are saying things that refer to the past and some of the cast and some designers. Yeah. There's an opportunity for them to create a new world here. It's almost like they're creating a franchise or a brand that they can put a new computer game into. I thought it was effective. I'm always, whenever they can expand the lore in these places, I love it. Yeah. I love world building. So I was really sucked into all of that. And
I thought that really good. I thought it was well done. I thought the effects and things were pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
And they're probably they're using the expand. Is it what's it called? They call it the Expanse. No, it's not the Expanse. The volume. The volume. Do you know what that is?
Oh right. Yes.
That's this big, you know, circular room which has got all the monitors on the. I presume they've used that to full effect, you know, to try and create.
I assume so. They love all that stuff. I guess there'll be a video where the making. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was good.
Watch that.
You like all that side of it.
I love all that side of things. I always think it's really interesting. But that's a really good one to see on the Mandalorian series. They've got one about technology, and that's actually really interesting. You know, so yeah. I thought it was all pretty good. I'm not sure how much more they'll have on that planet though, because at the end of it, obviously Obi Wan's gone off, you know, into another, you know, to take her home.
Yes,
I think
Hadja was still there, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was saying.
I think he's going to come
somewhere
back
else. You know, first, and the people there will help you. So we're going to find some other characters, aren't we? We're going to come up with some other.
It needs another goodie in it.
Yes, yeah.
We need some other focus to sort of play off Obi Wan.
Yeah.
So whether Hadja is going to come back in and be that character where they kind of work together, I don't know, but we can't just have Obi-Wan on the screen. I know it's important. I know that he is arguably the most important character within the whole Star Wars lore. You know, he is definitely almost the thread that ties everything together, you know, and it's like with the Clone Wars and then it goes, you know, on, and he's there. So we need something. If it is just about him and it becomes a bit too self-indulgent, I think there's danger that it's going to be Ponzi Darth Vader versus Ponzi Obi-Wan, and they'll end up having a fight and they'll have nothing to say to each other. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have to be sorry. I'm a little two minds about whether I want him and Darth Vader to fight again. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel. See, the thing is, you know, one of the great, you know, moments in Star Wars is when in A New Hope, when you see Darth Vader and Obi-Wan come against each other, and that's a great moment, and you don't want to dilute that moment down by having so many fights between the two of them. You know, that's why they need this Reva character. They need this Reva character to be more prominent, better play, you know, so that she can be the one that fights Obi-Wan, you know, and that they have a running conflict, you know, that she's a character that can get killed, you know, at the end of it. You can't kill Darth Vader, you can't kill Obi-Wan, you know. No. You can't kill Leia or Luke. You know, there's many characters that you can't get rid of. Owen, you can't kill, you know.
No. So you need a couple of characters so they killed the Grand Inquisitor on episode 2, you know. Well, we think they have, you know, you're right. It might be the other guy turns up and heals him or something, you know, and they all
what's her name out of the Book of Boba Fett?
Yes, they all seem to, that was a bit weird, that wasn't it? She lifted up the top and it was like a little band across her that was like,
it was like a scene out of Doctor Who from 1975.
It was hilarious, wasn't it?
It was terrible.
I was like, oh my God.
Please don't do that again.
Just another thing in the Book of Boba Fett that was, oh dear.
It was terrible. Terrible. That table where he brought people to be fixed, that was so stupid, wasn't it? Yeah. No, okay. So I mean, so overall, I mean,
yeah.
What's your impressions?
I was pleased. I was like you, Obi-Wan is an important character in Star Wars, and I think they've done an all right job. It's got potential to go better. You've always got to have that first bit where you've got to introduce it and get it going. And I can accept this if that's the 2 episodes where it's kind of like getting it going to something more. Then yeah, it's not a bad start.
No.
I always judge these things on how bored I am when I'm watching stuff,
Yeah.
And I didn't feel bored watching it. I wasn't like, I was like having to go, oh, when's this finishing? And can I get on to another thing, It naturally, if you're bored or not, and I wasn't, there was some good bits in there, some good little things to see. They just got to think how they're going to take it forward from here,
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that taking it forward, it is so important. The next 2 characters that introduced have to be good. I just think that whatever they put into it now, that was almost like a concluded ending to that, wasn't it?
Yes.
The next 2 episodes.
I mean, it's almost like a little snip on its own, isn't it? They've gone off. Now there can be another adventure, another thing to.
Exactly. And whoever they introduce, they've got to add depth and quirkiness and inject a little bit of humor. And they need to do that. And I think that's what this is, like a knife edge now with this.
It's right on a cusp of, it could be great or it could be, you've done it again, drop the ball,
that is it. Or just cocked
it right up, yeah.
And
they've done that before. They've done that before.
Good stuff.
Yeah, good. Okay, that's brilliant. Excellent. Well, thanks very much, everybody, for listening to Toby and I talk about Obi-Wan episodes 1 and 2. The next episode is actually out Wednesday, and so we're going to find the right time to get on and review that. It may be that we've got a week off, and then we'll come back next week and do 2.
Being half term and everything.
Yeah. So personal schedule's getting in the way a little bit here.
It is a little bit with this one,
but that's all right, because then there'll be another one next Wednesday, and maybe we can do two again.
That's a good idea.
We can get it done.
Yeah.
We've also got some other bits coming soon as well. So top 5s,
and we want to talk about Stranger Things as well.
Yes,
and that we could kind of do a half midterm summary, couldn't we? Maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
So that there's a lot to take on board there. That'll be a long episode.
that will be, that will be brilliant.
Cool.
Well, thanks very much for listening to us. If you can like and subscribe to our channel, that would be greatly appreciated. We'll be back soon, and take care.